Welcome to Mahaska County Conservation's Great Outdoors. I'm Laura DeCook, the naturalist from Mahaska County Conservation Board. We are still collecting sap from maple sugar trees to make maple syrup, and soon I will be showing you how to evaporate the sap and then finish it into syrup. But until then, I would like to share with you a little bit about the history of making maple syrup. Did you know that the maple tree sap can also be made into blocks of sugar? And throughout our American history, pioneers and Native Americans have cooked sap past the point of syrup into a stiffer consistency that made maple sugar. Imagine how they must have enjoyed that flavor in their food. Early Native American methods of sap collection involved cutting a V shape into the bark of a maple tree and placing a wedge at the bottom of the cut. Sap would flow out of the wedge and into the baskets that were placed at the base of the tree. Native Americans sometimes used baskets made of wood that is hollowed out with a hatchet to hold the sap, and the sap was collected and slowly boiled with hot stones from a campfire until it became syrup. And at this point, they would allow it to cool, and then it would be kept in other baskets. Generally, the gathering and boiling of sap was done by the women in the tribe. Now, the early European settlers who came to North America learned to make maple sugar from the Native Americans. The settlers set up sugar camps in the woods where the maple trees were most plentiful, and the trees were slashed with an axe to allow the sap to drip out and be collected. As early as 1790, a more efficient way to get sap out of a tree was done by drilling a hole into the tree and inserting a spill or spile to allow the sap to run out. These early sugar makers went from tree to tree and gathered sap. The sap was then boiled down in a series of large iron kettles hanging over an open fire. And as the syrup got thicker in one kettle, it was ladled into the next one, and fresh sap was added into the first kettle. This way, they always had the last kettle full of nearly completed syrup or sugar. When the sap was thick enough, the liquid sugar was stirred until it began to crystallize and then poured into wooden molds. And these blocks of sugar could be broken or shaved later in the year whenever needed. In addition to providing a homemade source of sugar, the maple sugar was also used for trade or sold for profit. Many colonists made far more maple sugar than they could use themselves, and this excess was very valuable to the settlers as it provided some income that could be traded at local stores for other food and supplies. The process in making maple syrup and sugar did not change for the first couple hundred years. Then during the Civil War came a neat little invention called the tin can. The tin can was made of sheet metal. And it didn't take syrup makers long to realize that a large, flat sheet metal pan was more efficient for boiling than a heavy, rounded iron kettle. Then later, with increased availability of cane sugar, maple sugar production switched to maple syrup production. More innovations continue to help with the syruping process. Over time, sap collection bags replaced buckets. Tractors replaced draft animals to haul large quantities of sap, and filtration improved the quality of the final product. Did you know that our third president, Thomas Jefferson, was so much in favor of the United States producing its own maple sugar that he started a plantation of sugar maples at his home in Monticello? Jefferson encouraged farmers to grow maple trees and make their own sugar, which was less expensive than cane sugar, and it was not made by slaves in the West Indies. Well, thanks for joining me today in Mahaska County Conservation's Great Outdoors. Let's get together the same time next week as I share more about making syrup. Have a great day.